All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the video. Today we're going to be looking at my Microsoft Surface 4 laptop. And this is a work computer. Before I get started, I'll just get into a couple things. I am a little biased. So with regards to the Surface, when they first came out, I did think they were a bit gimmicky. Because I grew up in a time where my first laptop was before smartphones. I wasn't super into touch screens and tablets kind of thing. It was before a time that those things were pretty readily available and it flooded the market. And so I'm still a big fan of laptops, especially in a business setting. I really don't think tablet style computers are great for productivity. I mean, when you're working with spreadsheets and you're on conference calls and stuff, I don't know. I prefer having a laptop. And this is a 13.5-inch model. It does weigh 2.86 pounds. This is what it looks like closed. All right, so it is matte black in color, and I love that. It's just very svelte. It is lightweight. It's 2.86 pounds, but it is dense. So it doesn't feel that light to me. I don't know. I guess I've just gotten used to light things, but here's the back of it. I mean, it is a fingerprint magnet. It does say Microsoft on the back. You have your vents here. It is not a portless device. So you have a USB port there, the USB-C. I love that it still has a headphone jack. It does have Bluetooth and then an SD card reader, which is kind of old school, with gigabit internet and all that stuff. But it's easy to share files with Google Docs and everything. This has a 256 gigabyte hard drive. We use a cloud for a lot of stuff, so that's not a big deal. It does have a Core i7 processor, so it is a quad-core processor. It's pretty fast, pretty snappy. The claim is the battery can go up to 17 hours. There's 8 hours in a work day, maybe 10 in a longer work day, so I'm not really going to push that. I mean, this thing pretty much stays in and around the office. I'll go ahead and open the charger. I don't have a retail box, and I got to tell you, I'm beyond thrilled that they did not give us Surface Pro. I think those things are just so gimmicky, and honestly, a lot of times when you see those, when they first came out, like you would see them, I think the NFL had like a deal with them and a couple other places. Like I think I even saw like news channels with them. And what you would notice is stacks of paper still laying around. I mean, paper is not going anywhere. Here's the charger. Here's a charging brick. I'm not going to flip it over. It has some information on it. This is a 65-watt charger, and it's interesting. It has this little cube-style plug. I like that it's not a 3-prong plug, and you have a magnetic connector here. So this is pretty straightforward. Again, I don't even use it that much. I just got this, so I haven't charged it. But it is a touchscreen notebook. Okay, so the keys are kind of concave so that, your fingers rest on them, and that helps with typing, and they're not super slippery. So this is a great keyboard. This trackpad, as you can see, is nice. You can do different gestures. When I do 4 fingers, I can kind of toggle the screen. You can do all types of gestures on this. That's why the trackpad being larger is a great thing. But this is a gorgeous screen. I don't even know what the resolution is on it. I think it's a 1080p screen. No. So actually, it's a bit higher. So that's pretty dope. The screen is sharp. The brightness is great. I'm in a fluorescent lit office, an office building. So everywhere I go, there's fluorescent lighting. So that is pretty strong lighting that this display has to compete with. You can see it's HDR. It is touchscreen, so that's pretty dope. It's responsive touchscreen. I really don't use touchscreen very much. So the keyboard is backlit, and like I said, this is a 13.5-inch model. This is a perfect size because, carrying these things around, going from different offices, or if you have to go off-site to work, this would be easy to work with from home, worked with at a coffee shop, a library. It is a wide screen, and so, I mean, if you have 2 things side by side, no, it's not the dual monitors that I have on my desktop, but that's why I have a desktop. Windows 11 is snappy. This isn't a complaint about the Surface. I do miss the home button being here, and when you click on this, it, throws up all this stuff, and I don't know. I'm just kind of old school that way, but this is a great laptop. It's very snappy. It's quad core. I mean, the hardest thing I'm going to be using this thing for is going to be like a conference call. or just having multiple spreadsheets open. So it does have 16 gigs of RAM, so it can handle that just fine. I'm not gonna be like pulling up Netflix on it. I may do some training videos, that kind of thing. It does have a 720p camera, and I hate that, you know, the fact that every smartphone now has a front-facing camera that's 1080p, kind of makes 720p, you know, look a little stale. And really, you're on a conference call. People just want to see your face and know you're engaged. It's really not about, you know, it's not show and tell. Overall, I would just say, I mean, this is a great laptop. It's very snappy. The battery life is great. I don't really worry about, you know, whether the charger's here or not. It does not have a ton of ports. There's no HDMI port. There are no ports on the back. You know, Microsoft has kind of gone with the MacBook style, where I don't know about the new one, but, you know, you have the fan vent here. It doesn't go off too much. You have your Microsoft logo here. All right, and so just a couple last minute thoughts on this. So this is kind of a smaller notebook. It has a smaller footprint, so this may not be for everyone. I mainly work off of a desktop with 2 monitors. So, you know, this 13.5 inch is fine for me, but if you're a video editor or if this is your primary laptop, you may need a 14 inch, which is what I have on my personal laptop, just to get you that extra space, or if you have a ton of windows open. Some people might complain about the bezels. I don't, just because it's, you know, it's a touch screen. So, you know, it's going to have larger bezels, just because it needs, you know, different components for the 10-point touchscreen. And again, it's a business notebook, so being pretty is kind of secondary to function, even though this is a very good looking notebook to me. I don't know if I mentioned, but the keys are backlit. You know, it has all the buttons you need. I don't feel super cramped on this, you know, keyboard. It's not the biggest keyboard. 256 gigabytes, as you know, is not a lot of storage. So if this was my primary computer, having an SD card that I use would be great. I'm old school, like I said. I prefer those over micro SD, even though you can get an adapter. The challenge with that is those can be lost very, very easily, whereas an SD card is easier to keep up with, in my opinion. And you can get a ton of storage for just a minimal amount of space. So that's why that port is very helpful. You really don't need HDMI. In today's market, you can connect this computer to something wirelessly. If you need something old school, you can get like a USB-C to whatever kind of dongle. This is convenient because if you lose a charger, which I have left chargers in airports, you can charge this with, especially if you have an Android, with a phone charger or a quick charger. It's not gonna be like super fast as the 65-watt charger here, but it will be able to get you by. You could get to your hotel or get to your home and just plug it in overnight, or plug it in at work overnight and kind of rock with it. I mean, the battery is gonna go 10 plus hours, so you're really not in any danger there. Okay, so there's so much with modern tech that it's hard to make sure you cover everything. But as far as internet, this does have Bluetooth 5.0. It has A, B, AX, N, AC internet protocols. There's so many, I don't even keep up with them anymore. It's an overall really, really good laptop. This is something I could work off of if I had to. It's quick. You know, if you're efficient with your spreadsheets and you use this trackpad wisely, you can toggle between things pretty easily. And especially if you're moving around, like in my company, you know, some people work from different sites. Sometimes you have to go help other sites. And this is really helpful when you can just plop down with your laptop if there's not an open desk or office open, and sit at a table and get to work. All you need is a mouse and you're good to go on this. But yeah, I would give this, like, overall probably a 9 out of 10. Just a great little notebook. It's not doing too much. I love that it doesn't have all this writing and things on the bottom, and it's just very straightforward. I mean, it's 0.6 inches thick. It's 12.1 inches from here to here, and then like 8.8 inches from here to here. So this has a very, very small. I mean, if you had to go to a different site or you're working remotely and you forgot your charger, again, you should be able to go the whole day if this thing's fully charged or even partially charged. So that's super dope.
Made way bigger. We're gonna kick things off with an egg.
Ooh,
right?
yeah.
All right, so the speakers are pretty good. Can't complain about those. I mean, for the size, they're pretty good. I mean, they fill up my office. But yeah, I would say the speakers are like 150% of what I expected them to be. And the sound is pretty full for the size. One thing that I will say is that the processor, even though it is very powerful, it leans towards efficiency. So this laptop is kind of geared towards being more of a Prius, even though it has the engine of like a Mustang. Um, so just keep that in mind. And I'm sure you can tweak that in the settings or whatever. So if you have any questions or there's something I did not cover, go ahead and toss it in the comments. I'm not running benchmarks and things like that. Benchmarks don't really mean much to me because they don't affect my overall experience. You know, same thing with phones. Like if I get a new phone and the benchmarks are great, but what I'm using it for, Instagram, Snapchat, or whatever, which are not a thing for me. But if that were a thing and those programs ran slow, that would taint my whole experience regardless of what a benchmark says. So I highly recommend like getting your hands on things. I don't even know if they sell these in stores anymore like Best Buy. I think they have the Surface 5 now, but I mean, you can go in the store. It's not vastly different and just kind of get a feel. I mean, this is a pretty standard laptop. So if you're needing one, I highly recommend this.